Hi, Jess.
Hey, Elise.
We're back.
We're back. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Feeling energized.
Cool.
Excited. Feeling a little funny.
Okay. Yeah, it's a weird week. It's a lot going on.
Yeah, we're recording in March of 2025. And, I mean, we'll do a whole different chat about astrology at a later point. But any astrologer or anybody who's interested in astrology knows that March 2025 is very, very big for planet transits.
Oh, yeah.
Through our sky.
So, like, a brief interlude, because I think that we can kind of touch on this, is like Venus retrograde in Aries, which is like very aggressively reflecting on things we've let go in relationships, and, you know, maybe an ex is coming back up, or maybe visions of exes are coming back. Bad dreams. Then we've also got our new moon just happened. So shedding. What are we letting go of? What are we calling in?
Our new moon in Pisces. So very emotional, really crying. Mercury moved into Aries yesterday, our planet of communication.
Which means aggressive communication. So, hey, you know what? It is what it is. We're here.
Like, the universe was literally like, let's strip you down, bare, because that's what Pisces really is. It's being overly empathetic, and then it's like, hey, smack. Let's make it aggressive communication.
Anyway,
we are here to continue on our journey of spiritual alchemy. It was gorgeous, by the way. I do want to compliment you. And truly looking at this through the lens of spirituality versus religion.
Yeah. I would say spirituality and religion.
Or spirituality and religion. But they can be held together.
They can. And where do I think we go back to our original conversation. A lot of our belief systems, a lot of human belief systems, base in religion.
Fundamental to societal success.
Yeah.
Is what religion is, because it creates a moral compass. Mm-hmm. It gives people, I think, a place to go in moments of grief and misunderstanding in the universe.
Yeah.
However, through hundreds of thousands of years, it's become a political game, I think, sometimes, very fear-based. And there's just so much out there beyond the Western world, beyond Western understanding, that, once again, it's 2025. We have a chance to explore.
Yeah. And I'll say, too, that in doing research and looking at different types of religions, not all religion is fear-based, but there is a heavy theme of right and wrong, morality, moral compass, that encompasses a little bit into modern religion, I would say.
I think we often forget, as an American society, that we are built on the fundamentals of people seeking religious freedom, seeking to believe in whatever they wanted to believe in, right? Because in Europe, where many of us descend from, a lot of your moral beliefs were also tied up with kings and queens ruling the system. So how interesting to be at a point now where we still live in a free country, where we are allowed to continue to question and learn and kind of live out what we think are the right morals without having to abide by the laws of government.
Yeah, true. So there's a quote.
Okay.
I love it. It's Albert Einstein.
Okay.
Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind.
It gets me every time that Einstein used the word lame.
Yeah.
I'll never get over that.
Yeah.
But it's very true. Thinking about spirituality and religion, how they can coincide or verse or kind of stand off towards each other. But we need both.
We need both because I think we need the balance.
So
science without religion is a moot point.
So he's saying you have to have science in religion. And with technology ramping up in this day and age, how interesting to watch these different religions kind of scramble to explain things away and make it make sense for their communities.
Yeah. Let's dive in.
So at the core of it, it's just offering explanations or reasoning as to why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are people out there who don't believe in anything, and honestly, they fascinate me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think having a reason to your existence is not to use this analogy, but it's an easier pill to swallow rather than just being like, I'm here. I'm not here for a long time. I'm just here for a good time. Like, okay, that works for how long?
Yeah.
What are your morals? What are you working towards? What do you want? Religion and spirituality create order in a tumultuous and unpredictable world. And for me personally, because I'm going to pull it from my own personal experience, I was raised Catholic. I know you were as well.
Yeah.
So if you're listening in order, we talked about belief systems from childhood. That was how we viewed the world. And how interesting that you fell away at 16. I would say I was probably around the same age, 16, 17, but I floundered more. I didn't know what to hold on to because I didn't have exposure to anything else.
Yeah.
So I just chose to believe in nothing at that time, personally, which that's not good.
Should believe in something, but I think it's also, I mean, going back to the dawn of time and history, and historians have proven that humans have always sought something higher than themselves. They've always sought answers to the things that they didn't know, to the unknown, to the things that were fearsome, from a higher source. There's always been this kind of like outside of themselves, seeking answers outside instead of within.
Right. I'm very fascinated with pyramids. Of course I am. And I watch a ton of documentaries about them. One thing, you know, there are some people that say pyramids were built and it's some technology that we don't know how to use yet. Others have said that, bouncing off of what you said, humans were just building something to the heavens to get higher, literally leveling up, to get higher to something that they don't understand.
Yeah.
So whether or not you believe pyramids have ancient technology that we don't know how to use, or if it is quite literally their kind of church or this monument that they built to get quote unquote closer to the heavens.
So fun fact about a lot of those temples is that they are built in alignment with the stars.
Actually, like
all of them are built in alignment with the stars. So yeah, there's trying to get closer to heaven, closer to God, closer to whatever you believe. But yeah, there's that sense of like just out of reach almost. Like how do we become us mere mortals? How do we become godlike?
And besides just the ancient monuments that we have around the world, do you know why else we know that ancient civilizations believed in a higher power? What designates us separate from just like animals in the wild?
I actually don't.
We buried each other.
Oh.
That's a big thing in the animal kingdom. I think there's another species that is very like reverent of their deceased. But humans, Neanderthals were the first, but then Homo sapiens thereafter, we buried our deceased.
Returned to the earth.
Exactly. And I only know this because I remember going up the coast, and it was a big seal beach, and there was a seal, somebody who knew everything about seals, and there was a dead seal right there in the middle of all of them, and I was horrified. I was like, don't they know it's something dead? She said, no, that's what separates us from the animal kingdom is we understand death, and by understanding death we need to dive in and understand why and how and where we go.
Interesting.
To them, when you die, you die.
Yeah.
And I would argue that is the basis of religion or spirituality, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's because like, where do we go? What happens to us? You know, big picture answers. And I mean, we look at the history of, like, I would call it organized religion.
Okay.
So, do you know what is the oldest recorded religion?
I do, but I'm gonna let you tell us.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna like make that a big reveal. So, We go back to Hinduism. Okay, 15th century BCE. So that's around 4,000 years ago. Crazy. So this is a religion that believes in one single all-powerful God, but has other gods that represent different aspects of the human experience.
It's 33 million gods.
Yeah.
That they like know of to explain anything in our existence.
Yeah. And that's like old. That is like the oldest organized, right?
It's beautiful.
So then there's, I am going to not be able to pronounce this, Zoroastrianism.
Sounds right to me.
Zoroastrianism, which is an ancient Persian religion from the 10th century BCE. So that is may have developed as long as 4,000 years ago.
Wow.
Just like Judaism, this religion promotes the belief in one God, so it's monotheistic. So you have polytheistic, like Hinduism, many gods. Monotheistic is one God.
It's so interesting is I was once driving across country and I listened to a 4-hour episode of the Persian Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never actually once asked myself, what is it that they believed in?
Yeah.
But if they were spreading this idea of a monotheistic religion, maybe that's why they went so hard.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, there had been a polytheistic or many gods idea. And I get it. Like when I hear of Hinduism, and if it is 33 million, that's a lot of gods.
Yeah.
Which one do I pray to?
Yeah. It's simpler.
It's way simpler.
It's just a simple answer.
I could see how that would be overwhelming as far as this is your religion and these are all the gods you can pray to.
Yeah.
Versus here's a one God.
Yeah. So we've got those two.
Mm-hmm.
Judaism, Jainism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism. Think about where all these religions started.
Not here.
Middle East, Asia. Going back and connecting this to science, where, as far as we know, did civilization start?
Mesopotamia, man.
And where was Mesopotamia?
Middle East.
Middle East. So it's cool because you can tie all this back to the start of civilization, human beings coming into existence and the development of society as we know it.
A belief system.
But going back even further than all this, do you know what the actual first religion that is 10,000 BCE?
No, but I was watching a video on Göbekli Tempe last night, but I don't remember if they mentioned religion.
Paganism.
Oh!
Paganism is the oldest religion in the world, even predating Hinduism. So it's as old as the earliest civilizations, which emerged in the Neolithic era, 10,000 BCE. So Hinduism dates back to around 3,000 BCE for your...
Okay. For my timeline.
For your timeline. Paganism is polytheistic, nature-based, and there's an emphasis on the cycles of life, kind of connecting back to your burial, because they focus on birth, life, and death. And this, it's just as old as time.
I love that.
Basis of belief systems. And it has developed and changed and grown and different. It's just like other religions and other cultures that you see. As we spread out, the beliefs change a little bit, but there's always a similar, you see, if you look at Norse mythology, ancient Greek mythology, ancient Egyptian mythology, there are similar gods, and even Hinduism, Buddhism, there's similar gods for that all kind of embody the same trait or have the same storyline, the same journey.
The hero's journey, as us writers call it.
Right? The hero's journey. Not always the hero's journey, or just the same lesson to teach.
Archetype, maybe we could call it.
We could call it an archetype. So just seeing the similarities, it's so interesting to go back to that and take a look.
Religion and spirituality, religion versus spirituality, however we want to differentiate it. We could say religion is an organized structure with a doctrine, a Bible, maybe rituals, communal worship, maybe a place of worship, faith that's guided by scripture or historical texts, and leaders, of course, in the community, and provides identity and a moral framework to which you can live by, a sense of belonging, an answer to your questions, per se. And religion's fascinating to me because it's deeply rooted in history. I'm a history lover. So, but versus, however you want to think of it, spirituality is more personal and fluid. Your ebb and flow. I'm going to keep bringing that back. And it's centered around your individual expression and growth. And it's not bound by one God or one tradition. You're making a face. You're making a face, Jess.
Well, just the face that I'm making, it's very much like this light bulb moment that I'm having where it's like, the difference is that religion is extrinsic. You're looking for the answer outside of yourself. Spirituality is intrinsic. You're doing the work internally. You are looking inward for the answers. And a core belief of spirituality, and some religions as well, if we look at religious texts, many texts will state that we come from God or we come from these higher powers, like we were created and given life, and we're all connected to these higher powers. And that seems to be like a core belief system, but the belief is that in spirituality, because you are connected to that higher power, there's a version of yourself within you that connects to the...
Perhaps it's the gold inside of you.
Perhaps
that you're just trying to mine out and bring to the surface. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, you finished exactly what I was going to say, and it will fascinate me from now until forever that a personal experience in this is having been raised very Catholic. I get in very heated discussions with my family about my belief system, because I'm always respectful of what they still believe in. And I remember talking to my uncle, and it basically boiled down to me saying to him, you call it God, I call it the universe, but it's still the same thing. And it was because he was fearing that I was a lost soul, that I didn't believe in something anymore. And what Catholics believe is if you don't believe, you're going to hell. And I had to explain to him, I do believe in something. We don't call it the same thing, but it is the same thing.
It's so fascinating to me too, and this is just a small anecdote, that with Christianity, it is such a new religion. Like,
so baby.
It's so baby. But Catholics and Christians, like, a lot of them are like, this is it. This is the truth. And it's like, well, have you gone back? Have you looked at other monotheistic religions? Have you seen similarities between the stories that you're saying, and what makes this true? What makes that wrong? And again, that's where we get into this reflection period of, how do I know this is true? And
you don't,
because science cannot prove the existence of God. It cannot prove or disprove it, because science requires a testable hypothesis. And there's nothing we can test. There's no baseline for, is there one God? Like, it just is something that cannot be proven. So there's a lot of faith in religion. And like, what do a lot of religions say? You just have to have faith.
Blind faith.
And that's, that's how it is. Science would say that we don't need God because we have science. It would go back to why a lot of ancient civilizations looked for the answer outside of themselves, because they couldn't explain it. They couldn't explain biology. They couldn't explain the workings of the world. Now we have technology. We have answers. We have scientific hard evidence of life through biology. And science would say we don't need God. I think, again, we go back to
So
that quote we started with. Science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind.
And, sorry, a little fun tangent.
Go off on a tangent. Go off.
When fires, per se, would happen, they would start, there wasn't an answer to weather. So do you know how they started tracking and timing all of this?
The stars.
The stars.
Yeah.
And we will get into this at a later point, but modern astrology is based off of hundreds of thousands of years. I'm going to need to be fact checked, but I'm pretty certain. So when you listen to a modern astrologer and you're like, oh, that's a woo-woo. No, you have to remember all of this has been studied because there was no other way for these civilizations to tell time. They told time because they were like, hey, look, that star's up there. That's fire season. We should probably get out of here.
Yeah.
And I really do think it is a lost art form to not understand that the answers, going back to the pyramids, might literally be above us if we just looked up at the stars and we had a better understanding of it.
Speaking of time, and also, like, this is my fun fact, is that, did you know that the modern calendar that we use is, like, all mixed up? Because if you think about, like, October, Oct, 8, the 10th month of the year.
September 7th, 9th.
Yep.
I mean, anybody follows, if you go look on my socials, I posted my 2024 recap on March 1st. Because that's when the original New Year used to start, in March.
I will also piggyback on your astrology, using astrology to tell time. Did you know that, and this will be an episode for a later day, but did you know that in ancient times, they used to use your birth chart to diagnose ailments, heal you, because sickness is something that manifests in the body, and they would look at your chart and be like, oh, her hand, she hurt her hand, where's her Mercury? Because Mercury rules hands and feet. And they would look at where it is in your chart, and then based on what house it was in, or they'd look at your 6th house and see what type of ailments. Like, it gets deep. We can break it down. But
so almost by religion giving us a monotheistic God, which is probably easier and more tangible to understand, it also kind of stifled us and made us just on this one track, this one savior, this one track answer to your questions. What if, get meta with me, what if we are all just micro beings inside of a bigger wheel, and we're all just living out these cycles where the collective as a whole, as a country, the collective as the whole, as the world, you individually, everything is just turning and turning and turning. And what if we just always end up at the same place?
I will get even more meta with you. I will see your meta, and I will raise the hole with me. Even more meta. We think of Earth as a school. We're here. Our soul's here to learn lessons. We'll dive deeper in later episodes. Think of it here as like, I'm here to learn my lessons, but our society, our collective experience, we're also here to collectively learn and grow as a society together. So, yes, we're all constantly cocooning, evolving, developing together.
Right.
We're all in the astral.
And so, for anyone who may be listening that is still deeply religious, which I respect and I love truly every religion. I think it's so amazing. And when you look at it's so much history is embedded in religion. If you don't think you're coupling spirituality with it, how could you? If that's even possible for you at the time? Making a face again.
I'm just making your face. You wrote a question here.
I did?
In purple. Right there.
Oh, yes. I did write, how can we be both religious and spiritual? And do you have an answer?
Or I would say this. You can be spiritual and not be religious. But you can't be religious and not be spiritual.
Right. Because being religious and therefore being spiritual allows science to come in and let things evolve.
Because you also, like, if you think about it, like how there are so many rituals in religion. There's practices. I mean, we're in the time of Lent right now. You know what today is? And Ash Wednesday, for those who are practicing and
If you
celebrating.
don't know, get curious, look it up.
So again, there's like rituals, like putting ash on the forehead. Do you know what ash is used for in pagan religion?
I don't.
Protection.
Oh.
So they put an ash cross on your forehead, protecting you.
Them Christians just be
Cleansing you.
stealing all the pagan rituals, aren't they?
It's just so interesting to look at everything and see where did it come from. Like, and a lot of the beliefs are similar. So you can't say that what you know is absolute. And if you want to, go question things. Don't dismiss. Be open to learning. I would say too, like, I don't really think of it as stealing, but what I do think of it as is dismissing, because what I do see in new age modern religions is that they'll, like, for example, this ash. They would take ash and say, oh, this ash is protecting you. It's blessed. It's cleansing you. But when a witch or a pagan uses
burner at the stake,
like, yeah, it's just judgment.
Mm-hmm.
That it turns into how we use it. That's fine. That's right. How they use it, no, wrong.
Well, that comes down.
Incorrect.
That goes back to what we said before about this cycle of fear and judgment and shame and guilt. It's all low vibrational feelings.
Yeah.
And once you're down there, you can get out, but it's just understanding that it's low.
Yeah.
Because you burn people at the stake because you're scared of them.
Yeah. I think we'll have to put a pin on this and definitely dive back in.
Right.
Again, there's so much. The beautiful thing is that there's so much to explore within this topic. So
it's scratching the surface.
You know what? Baby steps.
You gotta learn to crawl before you can walk. You gotta walk before you can run.
Yeah. Your journal prompts for the week. How do you define your faith and spirituality now? Is it possible to define? Can religion and spirituality coexist in a way that serves personal growth? And seek answers without fear. Question everything. Reflect on your beliefs and maybe list them, like the things that you believe as absolute truths, and just question them.
It's okay.
Reaffirm your beliefs if you can, or maybe open yourself up to a little bit something new.
Get out of your own way, and the world is your oyster.
Hell yeah.
Wish I had a better analogy. Anyway.
This is Spiritual Alchemy.
We'll see you next time.